Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. And welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
The first item on our agenda is to approve minutes of our December 6th meeting.
So moved.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you.
Sir.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Are there any additions and or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We are ready for our investment report, and we have straight from hair and makeup already.
Look at Spiffy in his leather jacket.
You're the first one. She's already started.
She is ready for the new year, that's all.
Mr. Beatty, our county trustee.
I really don't know how to respond. Madam Chairman, we didn't have any bids this last month. We've got two come up in the next couple of weeks, and our LGIP rate was 0.15. Wonderful.
Well, staying steady.
What can we say?
Well, you know, percentage-wise, from 0.12 to 0.15 is a significant amount.
You better believe it.
But still, nothing like the 5% we were talking about 4 years ago. Makes a huge difference.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks
ma'am.
for being a good sport.
I think I'm gonna thank you.
Okay, our Finance Director, Mrs. Nolan, will begin with the fund condition report, and as always, we start with the development tax.
In December, we received $114,000 in development tax. That brings our year-to-date after refunds up to $858,000, and I remind you that we estimated $1 million, so we're
On track.
almost to our budget estimate.
Okay, let's move please to cash balances.
Okay. I was getting so excited about my other news. I'll go to this. Okay. At the end of December, our cash balances totaled $187,453,000, with $168,044,000 being operating funds, $19,408,000 being borrowed funds. If you look at, as we were reviewing, another reminder is debt service. You see that $15 million spread between last year, December 11 and December 12. We had done an interfund borrowing for $15 million until we went out to take that out with bond proceeds. That's just a reminder. On down, you'll see a balance in Stewart's Creek Farms. There is an amendment later on requesting to move that $1,697 back to the general fund. And let's see, there is.
We had to pay extra for that one, didn't we?
We did, and use development tax. That's why we're moving it. We'd like to move that back. And then there's another one.
The firing range should be about whacked up.
The firing range, but I'm waiting on Captain Spence to tell us when that can go, and that's not all our money. That is
Split
of that
with the city.
9,464. That's with the city. It was the jail expansion. Later on, we'll talk about that 37,112. There was over 300,000 in development tax that went into that. We're going to talk about that too. Is to have a need for that for some fire. So we'll talk about that later.
Any other questions or comments about cash balances?
Motion to approve the report.
No, I'm
Well,
not done yet.
no,
Oh, not
she can't wait to get to some information that she wants to tell us here.
I didn't know it was part of this report.
So if you will go to your revenue sheet, Part A.
Now this is, when you're looking at this takes, this is as of December, and these little things popping up on mine. Why does those go away?
It'll go away just in a second.
Okay. as you can see on the bottom line, we are 50.74% collected as in the general fund, 49.35 collected on the revenue in the ambulance. Again, some of this I'm reporting the same thing that we did last time about the sales tax being up and hotel motel tax being up. So some of those same comments from last month are applicable to this month. But I was out of the office today and this afternoon got my information from the state on sales tax, so I'm going to give you an updated. I'm still in thunder from next month, but December, this is what we, through our books, would be reporting in December, but these are actually November sales, the November sales. So comparing this December to last December, which was November, sales tax over the whole county is up almost 16.5%.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
I mean, we haven't had a 1 month that high, you know.
Must have been a lot of broken computers, so they went to go online, right?
And again, it was November sales. Now that brings us up for the whole county as a whole. So you kind of, when I say that, you just think of schools, because schools is going to get half of, regardless of where the sale took place, schools are going to get half, up 8.38% for half a year.
It's going to help out.
So that's my good news. All right. Good news, bad news. When you're looking at the local taxes in the general fund, you see it's up 57%. I've got one thing that's going on, but it's math, so I'm reporting it to you. In there are the pilot agreements that the IDB has, and that's where the property is in the name of IDB. It's for a business, but there is an agreement on what tax that they will pay. Okay, so it's kind of outside the regular routine where you get a tax bill. On those situations, those tax bills come out of the finance office. Based on the agreements, we bill these businesses. Embassy Suites appealed their 2010 and 2011 tax. So the result of that is that we will be paying out in this month $434,000 back to Embassy Suites for their appeal. That
So they won their appeal?
Well, it was an agreement. I think it just went to a settlement. So I'm saying all this, one, to inform you, one, to get it into my records in the minutes because of how I'm going to handle it through the books and records. So that my auditors would just want to make sure that y'all knew what was going on.
So this is an IDB settlement? This isn't
it's no. IDB, the only reason that they're in there is that they've assessed the pilot agreement of what the business will pay in taxes based on the assessments that's done through the assessor's office. Okay, so.
So this isn't payments in lieu of taxes?
It is payment. That's what payment in lieu of taxes. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So we'll have to remit the 2010, 2011 overpayment. And we had one other one, General Mills, also appealed theirs, but what we had to remit back to them was $36,785. So, bad news, but there were two businesses that should have rolled off of pilot, but they have not done the process to get them out of the IDB's name into their name. So we billed those that I had not budgeted. So all that to say, I've got two businesses that we went ahead and we billed outside of my estimate. So all those numbers I've given you, we'll probably have to reduce that line item, the pilot agreement, by about $152,000. So that's revenue that we will not get.
Do you know when those roll off?
It depends. There's so many that are scattered and staggered.
10, 20, 30.
Like Embassy Suites comes off 2017, and General Mills has got one that ends this year, but there's another one that goes to 2021.
So through each edition that they've done, then they've gone through and done another.
So, you know, there, Frankie equipment, that comes off in 2014. 2014 is the last one. So, I mean, they rotate in. The hurt on the pilot is we bill it out of the general fund, so it's all in the general fund where all this activity takes place. So, but sales tax in the county is up 50%.
How did we get that far off though? You're talking about a settlement of $400,000. You know, how did we get that far off of an estimate or a figure or
That's out of my area of expertise.
What, you have a percentage that they're gonna pay each year until it's paid up, right?
But it's all based on the appraisal.
Appraisal,
value.
and that was
That's what's
2010's
been changed.
reappraisal.
That's been an agreement on the reduction in the appraised value.
For them on
They
a
appealed it.
payment in lieu of taxes, which would be a lesser payment, then you would think that'd be a substantial change.
Well,
in
on
assessment.
this one,
It's
on this
millions.
particular one, it's 100%, which is, I mean, it's 100%.
So this is one of the ones
they're
that come
paying
through
us
the court system, I guess, that,
Some of them go through court, some of them are settled outside of court. And
So, that's a just FYI.
Do we need to move on now to revenue sheet B?
Yes, we can. It's basically the same report that I did last month. You've got the same tick marks. Again, sales tax up, and it's gonna look even better next month when we post these numbers that we got today.
Gentlemen, any other questions or comments about our fund condition report?
I'll try again. Motion to approve the.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Jordan. Seconded by Commissioner P.
I'm sorry, I got one other question on that. I mean, our assessor's back here, but I just, I thought all of them were in a court situation on the ones that were challenging the appraisals. And so it all had to come through, so you're saying afterwards now that they've been negotiated, or a few of them have here, or what? That's what I don't understand.
I think we read in the paper that they had 714 of those things that were under appeal, and they've settled them. The
That's what I'm saying.
administrative
How were they settled though?
Well, I mean,
Through a judge or through?
Through a combination of a judge and the assessor's office.
Well, there's an administrative judge.
Yeah, but
They go through.
he
But you-
didn't put down all the numbers. I mean, the numbers were, the appraised values came through the assessor's office for the most part.
I've assumed the assessor settles privately with the parties
Right.
without the judge issuing a ruling.
In many cases.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Under the prior assessor though, there weren't. This ball got started before this assessor even got there. So those were all headed to court or in a proceedings of court, is what I was
I
assuming.
think they could be settled up to a day of court.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what's happened on.
I mean, the pilots are no different from all of the other properties
Sure.
that were under some appeal process. Just
Sure.
she's mentioned that in particular because but the others have worked exactly the same way. And there are whole bunches of those.
And they could have been the exact same outcome after you paid the cost to go through court and drug it out. You know, you don't know what the court.
And many of those paid the their taxes.
What they
Yeah.
were, what they got
had
billed.
been assessed under protest, and then if they had overpaid, we'll have to refund those.
Right, right.
Trustee will be refunding those, already is refunding those.
Mhm.
Ones that did not appeal and pay under protest, do they still have an avenue if they don't accept? Because the more this is public record, if it's all public record, like, hey, this was dropped substantially, then other companies out there gonna say, hey, let's look back at mine. And
I think they can appeal the next tax
have to wait till
assessment.
next
They'll have to
appraisal.
wait. I think they're already out of time on the ones that have been through that cycle.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second on the fund condition report. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. That motion carries. We're ready now for our risk management report. Mrs. Stinson will join us. Good evening.
Good evening, how are y'all? We will start with Fund 264 if you refer to that document. For the month of December, our per employee per month cost is $838.70. That compares to the prior year of $741.06. Our year-to-date average is $863.81 for medical, compared to prior year of $825.91. When we combine the Cigna experience with our on-site medical, our per employee per month increases to $873.56, compared to prior year of $769.86. Our year-to-date is $896.79, compared to $855.94 prior year, reflecting a 4.8% increase in our plan year over year.
That's within our margins of growth.
Well, we'd like to see it go the other way, actually.
Right.
Preferably, but yes, we do see an increase in experience so far this plan year.
Fund 266.
In Fund 266, year-to-date, we're at $431,374.83, compared to prior year of $358,269.43. So we still continue to see an increase in our experience on the Fund 266.
Any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Stinson? Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is that all this?
That's it.
Gentlemen, we're ready for the general fund budget amendments. And our first budget amendment is from the property assessor and reappraisal, Mr. Mitchell. Good evening, Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening, thank you. I'm excited. This is my first one of these, so this is great. I love it.
Okay, if you will present your request, please.
Yes, my request is to reallocate $10,000 from the property assessor's gasoline budget and reassign that into the reappraisal gasoline budget.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner P. Discussion?
Well, he did it the right way. It's within his budget, so.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
Be using that gas.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell,
Thank you
and I'm
very
sure
much.
we'll be seeing more of you.
I hope so. Thank you all very much.
We have a budget amendment from the Correctional Work Center, Mr. Solandi. Oh, sorry. Hello. And your request, please?
Requesting removal of $12,000 from line 399 other contracted services to put into 335 and 336 repair of building and repair of equipment. 335 is the building and 336 is equipment. Just to we had a chiller that needed repaired. That is a substantial amount. And then so we just wanted to put enough in there to let us get along for the rest of the fiscal year.
Move to approve. Second.
Commissioner Jernigan, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Further discussion or questions for Mr. Solandi?
The building's only a few years old, is it? That
Chillers
we already
and
have a
boilers.
major problem with the chiller?
It's not major, but little problems add up to
Right.
$5,000.
Yeah, that big chiller, that $200 repair on a house is probably $12,000 repair on that. I would've thought some of that would be under warranty, but that time may have lapsed
Yeah,
already.
we're past that time.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Landon. From the county attorney's office, either Mayor Burgess and/or Mrs. Nolan.
I can do this. This is a request of $76,500 from the unassigned fund balance for the legal services and the county attorneys. We had a combination of things happen. One is that we did not receive his billing for May and June 2012 until December. That was past our cutoff, and the only amount that was left in that line item at the end of June was $15,000, about $15,500, and that's all we were able to set up as accounts payable because we didn't know what the bill was. So therefore, because it was so late, it had to be paid out of the current year. In addition, there were charges of about $13,600 for charges from the county attorneys that was above and beyond the legal services agreement. So my request is to move $76,500, and that is to pay for last year's charges for May and June. The services that are above the legal services agreement for the first half, and an estimated $15,000 for the second half of the year.
Ms. Nolan, my understanding is that since these charges are from the last fiscal year, they were under the prior legal
Agreement.
services agreement, where we were paying an hourly fee once hours accumulated above a certain level. Since the contract this year is a flat fee without the hourly rate on top of that, these would represent charges that would be included under the flat fee of this fiscal year's agreement. Is that correct?
Should be, yes. Right.
No, wait just a minute. This, first of all, this is three pieces here.
And yes, and I should clarify, I'm referring to the biggest piece.
The biggest piece is
63,000.
Yeah, less the $48,000 of last year's money is in the 76,000.
Right, I'm referring to the biggest
And yes,
piece.
and so that other piece, that difference would be in this covered services. But now, these $13,598, that's not under the routine services. That's services outside of that. So we're always going to have some of those on top of what the base amount of the agreement is.
And that was going to be my next question, assuming my statement was correct about the biggest expense, the $63,000 and some. What would be an example of a service that's outside the legal service agreement?
You wanna take that?
Well, from time to time, animal control has to go into court to get a dog declared dangerous and those kinds of things. That is outside the routine scope of services. So some of those, a few things over in building and codes, that's primarily what has happened on these dollars right here that we're looking at this time.
But you wouldn't put them as part of our litigation costs.
Well,
Not
they're
these.
not those litigation costs go against another account, okay?
Right.
But these have to be paid somehow, and they're not part of routine.
Not part of routine and not part of legal, and not part of litigation costs.
It's not one of those where somebody is suing us, and so it's going a different route.
If it
Like
was
a
for the
claim.
dog pound or for planning or something, should that not cost be attributed to that department? Or does the county just cover that part of it?
I mean, that's what that's,
I know, but should that go back through?
If
Be
it
part
were-
of planning's budget or part of?
If somebody sued
Animal
planning.
Or if the
it
animal
would be
shelter has to
litigation.
get a dog declared of whatever, does the county pay that bill, or does it go through Paul's and come out through their budget?
County
No,
pays it.
county pays it.
And all this defense of litigation, of people where they have sued us, the county's just paying it. It's not going against planning or
What about the
sheriff's office or otherwise.
services rendered in May and June? The bill didn't come till December. Is there some mechanism in place to encourage people to present that bill within a timely manner where they're presenting it 6 months later.
This was 6 months later.
When we try.
Yeah.
I mean, but,
I mean, I would, that's not exactly timely, as
No.
I'm repeating myself, yeah.
So they are done on a monthly basis, these two just didn't get billed.
he was delayed in billing us. I mean, we did not get the bill until December.
So what about July, August, September, and October?
That's under a different agreement.
So it's just the monthly.
That's under a different agreement.
Different arrangement. We're not getting everything billed on an hourly basis anymore.
Yeah.
The only thing in
Okay,
here-
that's right, that's under the new agreement,
Yeah,
but,
it's under a
so,
new agreement.
these
That
two are the
litigation
ones
stuff is
lagging
over
out,
there,
yeah.
yeah.
Right, which
I'm
the
with you
new
a little bit better
agreement,
now.
the new agreement would be this, if you still got that out there, 110,150 divided by 12, that's the new agreement.
Mhm.
Legal litigation services.
In addition to his salary and benefits, of course.
So this wipes the slate clean.
That gets us, it takes care of last fiscal
Kind of.
year.
Last fiscal year.
11,
It
12,
takes us
yeah.
care of
This will
last
be
fiscal year.
ongoing for future.
Well, except that the current contract has a fixed fee, so hopefully there wouldn't be this kind of uncertainty where you don't know
Right.
Well,
what's gonna be billed 6
I
months
still
later.
Right.
I still don't
Right.
know those things that are outside until I get the bill.
Things outside general legal services.
I hope we get those on a timely manner.
Gotta pay the bills. Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion?
The, things that are outside of the agreement, can we have a separate attorney do those?
A separate attorney is doing some of those substantial, several of the federal lawsuits that are filed against the sheriff's office, they are handled out of this Leitner Williams firm primarily. And that's about the only thing that's outside. And they do a good bit of work for us on that, and have for years. Right now, there are no other outside attorneys being used. We did use Mr. Jock Rucker to help us with some of these road bonds and things because there was a conflict of interest. We haven't done any of that even recently.
So under our audit, Lisa, we don't have to put these in a departmental situation as far as this lawsuit is really attached to this department or this, since it's handled under the general
I
fund
mean,
and paid.
it's under, you know, county.
Under that umbrella, then we.
Under the, you know, it's, to me, okay to be in this instead of charging out to departments. I mean, to me, it's better for you to have all the legal costs in one spot. Though, those costs are accumulated. I mean, Elaine keeps up with how much maybe the sheriff's office has and how much is, you know, maybe even my office or mayor's office, school board. Yeah.
Since we started down this road, I know we're winding a little off target there, but would the same thing be said about, say, an insurance cost? Say if, say you had an employee we had to pay unemployment insurance on, is that added back
Unemployment,
against
we
the-
did make a change last year when last year or the year before when we were getting so many in, and it was, the expense of it was getting so high, we did start allocating that cost. Because it was a factor of that employment in that office that
Right.
caused it.
Right, and I'd had that question, and I thought I knew the answer, and you pretty well told me there, so, yeah.
I mean, it used to be less than $20,000 a year in total unemployment for the whole county.
Right.
And then, I think one year it was either 60, 80,000. So,
So we are charging it back against the individuals. All right.
Well, with something like that would be outside, would that be Dr. Rudd, when somebody files a lawsuit against him out there and we gotta pay, what, I think 10,000 deductible right away?
A little more cautious.
Does that
Yeah.
when they
jump into this kind of?
Dr. Rudd has been defending all of his own lawsuits.
Okay.
I mean, Now, he buys insurance, and that's part of, we're paying for it through the,
Okay, that's
through
why
our
that
contractual amount.
insurance went up.
Okay, gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion relative to this motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Gentlemen, the next item on our agenda is a budget amendment from the Sheriff's Department for the jail. Sheriff Arnold and Chief Deputy Russell, good evening.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Dandy.
He's fixing to tell us that.
Mr. Russell, if you will present your request, please.
Okay. In our ongoing battle for keeping the facility up and running, we're needing to move some money out of our jail side 707 building improvements, $40,000, and also 399 other contracted services, $20,000. And we need to put that into maintenance repair of the building for $60,000 total.
So we're out on maintenance money,
Again,
maintenance of the building.
yeah, by the time this gets there, it's gone.
And this relates to the heating units.
Yes, sir.
Well, when we did this, we were not,
Yeah, we didn't have any
we
intentions
didn't
for
have
this.
we didn't have any intention of this, doing the boilers.
Yeah,
We were
this
doing
would be
this
general
out of our own
maintenance.
budget,
Yeah.
and then,
For
within a
things like
week,
paint and,
yeah,
just
we were
whatever,
doing this
yeah.
for paint and some other things that we wanted to do, because naturally the hot water heaters went out, if you recall, and that wiped our budget out. So we were doing this out of our own budget so we could do paint and other things around the jail. And then the boilers went down. So, and those are in the process of being fixed. But before this money even hits, it's gone. And we still got a bill for boilers. I mean, because of the cost of it.
So there'll be another transfer coming.
We're tapped.
Well, the building improvement fund still got money in it.
What's in the building improvement fund?
Well, we started with 160,000. They've already amended.
So that's it right here.
26.1 out of
Yeah.
data processing equipment, and now they're amending 40 out. So at the end of December, there was $98,000 still in that hadn't been encumbered.
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
Commissioner P, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan.
So this, the 90-something thousand that's left there
It
can be
won't-
used for this.
It won't be 90 left after they take this 40 out. Still it'll be 50
Okay, 50-something then. So that can be still used in their,
somewhere.
any improvements that
Whatever they choose.
that they want to.
What did the total cost of the boilers repair end up being?
We don't know yet.
Don't know yet.
But the other thing was 707, you're looking at right there, there are other projects that are in there that are actually in the pipeline. Trigger has already been pulled.
That we don't know about. Around $50,000 worth.
Well, I don't know that. I don't know what it is. I'd have to get with Darlene Spence's. pull the
We've
trigger
already,
on some-
in order to get this
some-
40,000 here, we've already cut 2 projects.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do,
So-
we're gonna work with them very carefully, properly, and the money they need to keep that building functioning and providing hot water and heating and cooling, we're gonna make it happen. Now, we will review the numbers with them in some detail.
That's pretty much what we told them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you'll find we keep our word here.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Sheriff Arnold, we have, we do not have a motion from Public Safety, but,
We got one more.
Have a DEA fund. Did that make it on the plan? I forgot that.
no,
No?
We were gone to that conference.
no, I don't have that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Can you hold that?
I can wait till next month. That's
Okay.
fine.
We do not have a motion from Public Safety, but Commissioner P requested that you bring the cost of a proposal that you presented at your press conference for additional SROs. I am assuming that this is for information only and that this has not gone through the committee process. So, Sheriff Arnold, if you'll present what was requested from Commissioner P.
It was requested of me to bring to y'all the numbers to provide SROs for every school in the county, which would basically put one in every school. That being said, it would take 11 SROs to do that. One of them being a sergeant's position, because naturally the way our rank structure is set up is they have 8 deputies under them, and then you have a sergeant. It's a chain of command. Also, you have equipment for those officers, because naturally moving officers around and stuff when they need new equipment. Vehicles, and most of the time the way we do our vehicles is patrol gets the newer vehicles and the older vehicles get passed down, but we'll have to pass down vehicles. And then also the basic training that the SROs would have to receive, because they have to become NASRO certified. So it comes down to $1.2 million. And that's, if we did it today, that's what it would take to get through the rest of this budget year.
Now, for the whole year?
That's the next 6 months.
And it
Or
would be,
12.
this is a 12-month budget.
12 months, okay. I thought it was
And
a
it'd be
6 month.
it'd be somewhat one-time expense for the equipment and the vehicle. You'd have to
Yes.
replenish them, but that wouldn't be yearly. You know,
The
No.
bond- the bond three would be.
Yeah, that would be a one-time cost, and then naturally that's a recurring cost for the salaries.
Since the fiscal year's half over, if we were to implement this, maybe the cost for this year would be half of that, but it
Yes.
might take some time to get the folks in place, so it might even be less than half of this
We
that
could
cost
get-
for this year, for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
How much would be recurring once we pull the vehicle, equipment, training?
Ballparking the number that you have in front of you, around 583,000, and that's just a ballpark.
And that's what it's taking right now for 11 people. That's a
Yes.
shared
Yeah.
cost with the school.
No.
It's
The
not.
commission several years ago, and I even had to tell you, used to, it was a split. Half of the sheriff's office budget paid for SROs and half of the school budget. But I think because of it.
Sharing
it-
issue.
Yeah, the sharing issue,
I remember that now. I remember that.
it
now.
comes out of one pot. It all
Yeah.
comes out of one pot anyway.
Yeah.
Not only that, it was a legal issue when we went to court, because
Yeah.
they would say that they're acting as administrators instead of law enforcement officers, so it kind of jammed us up in court as well.
And this is just for information tonight, and this would have to come through the public safety back here.
It has not gone
Yeah.
through the committee
Yeah.
process. No, it has not.
Well, when I brought this up, of course, everybody knows why we brought this up. And, you know, I've actually been talking to a lot of people out in my area, and I've yet to have anybody tell me, no, we don't need to do this. And, you know, I feel like it's something we need to do. Personally, I'm gonna push for it. You know, being able to afford it, being here on budget is why I want us to start looking at these numbers as quickly as we can, see exactly what it's gonna cost us, what it would take to get it in place. You know, whether we can start putting some more new officers in place this year, I don't know. But that's something that, you know, I wanted y'all to think about, public safety to think about, it come back to public safety, and we could kick it around. And having said all that, just listening to the different news that's come out, I noticed that some of the legislators were saying that they were gonna propose more money to come out from the state to pay for resource officers. Have you heard anything about that? Now, I did hear that on one of the news agencies that I was listening to.
Talking to Sheriff Ash, he said that there's so many different things going on right now at the state legislature about this. We're actually having a special meeting to discuss this, because there's so many different crazy things that are being proposed all across the state.
Well, I mean, our counties, as everybody here knows, we've been proactive in this, and I think it's a good thing. Our teachers feel more secure about it. I mean, I've seen the training y'all do with our students and with our teachers, so, you know, when you lock down these schools here, these students and the teachers know what to do. But, you know, not having it in some of the elementary schools, and, you know, who would have thought? I mean, I grew up taking my shotgun in the rack of my truck to school, you know, and nobody thought about it. Said, hey, nice gun, you know. but we live in a different world. But having said all that, I think it's important that we look at it and have an open discussion. You know, if the state wants to give us money for it, I say that's great, let's take it. And hopefully we'll hear something. If y'all hear something, you know, get that back to public safety so we can kick it around. So.
I know last week when we had the meeting with the legislators, the only thing that came out of it was the bills to allow teachers to be armed with guns, and that's all they mentioned. There's a couple of different types of bills that are looking into that.
The only other thing they mentioned is that Medicaid would take precedent and priority and take up all the money from it. Any excess money had would go there.
So,
Sheriff, vehicles, I mean, you've got, there's always vehicles out there on the lot. So you ain't got no, you don't have 10 vehicles out there that
We
these.
pull them all off, we're out.
Or actually the units that these folks already driving would be going to that. So you're not, this is a replacement cost type.
We don't have any extra vehicles. We've gone through our inventory. We had a bunch sitting on the lot that had over 175,000 miles, and they were costing the county a ton of money in maintenance and all that. We've pulled them, we've de-striped them, and pulled light bars. We've got about 7 to 10 that we're giving to the fire departments. We're just waiting on the one of the other committees to sign off the donation. So yeah, we don't have any extra, because I even looked today. I was just like, do we have, if we needed to do that, that was going to be my compromise, saying maybe we could, and I looked and we don't have it.
Yeah.
well, what'll happen when the new ones come, they'll go to patrol, and the older ones will go.
The olders, the ones we need will go cycle down.
Are we up to $50,000 a vehicle now?
Pretty much.
The cars were around 22 or 3 plus equipment, but I didn't realize.
Cars are now going about 32 just for the car, and then you've got all the equipment to go in it.
Of course, if you're replacing a car, then you gotta hand that car down. If you have to add extra units, you don't have a light bar and a radio and
All of
stuff
our
to
new
switch over.
units are not going to be Crown Vics. We can't take anything out of the old cars and put in the new cars.
There's gonna be a whole new discussion about how many replacement vehicles he just needs this year.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you add
Because right now,
SROs, you'll add another vehicle for each one of those you add. So if he needs 25, it'll be 25 plus 10.
Well, if we're looking at an ongoing expense of $583,000 per year, you know, that's a little over 1 cent on the property tax rate. What is it exact now, the penny?
That's right.
Well,
604.
Yeah, I think it was 600.
604.
Well, in that case, we're
It's
looking at a
about one
little
penny.
less, so.
One thing I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm
No, go
sorry.
ahead.
One thing I don't want you guys to forget is, we were asked by Commissioner P just to let y'all know what it will cost to fill what we've got. Stewart Creek High School will open the next year, and I would like
We
to
knew
have.
that, we knew that was gonna have 2
Yes,
in
sir.
there. So
That's what I just didn't want
That's
y'all
part
to.
of those 11,
Yeah.
so.
I didn't-
no, it's not part of those
No, I
11.
thought it was.
This
No.
is
Just
just for
for
the
the
elementary
elementary.
schools, right?
This is just for elementary. Come July 1, it will be 13 because of the new high school.
The SRO at 52,000, does that include benefits?
Yes, sir, that's
full-
benefit, that's
full package.
everything.
Yeah, that's full package.
But that means that there's 10 elementary school, there are 20 elementary schools that are splitting right now.
That's right.
And so this will cover them, and then you got the one supervisor that's coming,
Yes, sir.
the sergeant that's coming. So that's where the 11 is. Because we talked 12 before, and that was just actual ones in the schools with the
Yes,
new
sir.
school, high school coming.
Well, I think Rutherford County is gonna be on the map with the SRO program and what we've done throughout the state and probably other states. You know, we don't wanna shine light on us sometimes. This is probably what we don't wanna shine light on to us about, but, you know, this has helped in so many different ways in the high school and even elementary school where the kids, you know, they have faith in that SRO and they can go to them if they have an issue or anything. But my opinion, I think we need to, you probably go through your committee or whatever, but I think it just needs to be a budgetary item that we come through. I mean, we're getting ready to start budget anyway. So I think this is something, I mean, we got, 3.5 months left in school?
Yes, sir.
So I think this is a budgetary thing that we put in with with your package from the sheriff's department and that we go forth there and put it in within our numbers. And don't actually jump into a couple months here before school's out and try to makeshift something and rush something. But I think it does need to be in this year's budget, so we start out the fall with these SROs in place.
I think we're all look at all our options.
Yeah.
I had a teacher call me who was a retired teacher from another state, and she said she'd been in elementary school, and every hallway had locking doors, and the teachers and the staff all carried passes or swipes to get, and that way each hallway was secured individually. I mean, that cost some construction money, but that, besides maintenance, and would that be a stopgap? Would that be less than this? I mean, I know, do you want to go at 2 SROs in every school? I mean, we ought to flesh all this out completely before we start hiring people. And that's next month or this summer or whenever. I think we'll make sure we do it appropriately, what we do before we stop out here and spend $1.2 million of taxpayer dollars. Now, I want to do whatever's best for the children, but, you know, you can't have a SRO in every classroom, you know, but you got to figure out where that breaking point is. And this could well be it. That's why make sure we investigate everything completely before we start hiring people.
And the only place that would have to would be a high school, and that's just workload and population.
Double the size.
And then the rest of them would just be the single officer there assigned to that school instead of split.
I had somebody bring up to me the other day that they said, well, what about the private schools? Why is the county not providing security for them? I said, well, it's a private school. I would think they would hire their own, but they said, well, they're taxpayers.
And
you
I've
know,
actually,
so.
glad you brought that up, I've actually been contacted by the private schools, and I've told them that, you know, if that's something that they would like to see, they could contract with the county to provide that, but we can't provide that for them being a private school.
You start down that road, you've got daycares and churches and everything else, you know.
And there is a large number right now of churches that are hiring off-duty officers, and they finance through their, however they do it, board members or whatever. So.
And a lot of the private schools here in town contract right now with the city of Murfreesboro to do their traffic guard. So I mean, we're not providing that either.
Well, when I originally brought this up, you know, I said I didn't want this to be a knee-jerk reaction. I think what Will's saying is exactly right. We need to look at all our options, see what we do. You know, I feel more secured with armed SRO in the schools, you know, but I think there's definitely merit in some of these other things he was bringing up.
Any further discussion? I know it's going to go back through the committee process, but.
I'll save it.
Okay, Commissioner Schaefer.
2 weeks, we'll see you again. Couple of weeks, we'll do it.
Sheriff Arnold.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you getting there.
Actually, I won't be there.
Yeah, well, that's when I'll catch you afterwards if you're still talking.
Gentlemen, our next budget amendment is from the Finance Office. Mrs. Nolan?
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. Oh, yeah, this is that,
The one you
this is the
mentioned.
one, no, this is
No,
not the
this
one,
is
this
not
is
the
a different
one.
one.
This is a different.
Okay, we received, $8,200, bond back from the city of Murfreesboro for Lane Agri Park for their landscaping. And we are just asking for this amendment to be able to remind us to get it back to the development tax.
Is that where
The
it came
restricted,
from, or
that's
did
where
it
it came
come
from.
from the
Well,
money that was at the Lane Agri Park? That
it
money
did.
was,
Yes, and it was a little mixture, so anyway, that's how we're
make
getting
sure
it
they
back
get,
to.
we're gonna get their percentage back to them, because they've gotta maintain their property.
It
Yeah,
was-
remember the money from the Guy James farm was, went in that direction.
But this was just a security
protecting
bond.
the punch
Security
out there.
bond. You have to put these bonds
I
up
know, but
to
I was
be,
wondering,
to promise that
was
you're going to
that
keep the landscaping like they
was-
say it should be.
Where did the money come from, is what I'm asking? Did the money
I think
come
did
from?
we go back to development tax?
It
That's what
came
we're
from
getting.
development tax?
That's what I'm remembering.
If it came from development tax, but if it came from the fund out there, the money from the Guy James property, which was earmarked to be spent out there, then I'm thinking it needs to go back out there.
Okay, so, I tell you what, between now and commission, I'll
As
verify.
long as it didn't.
I mean,
Development
it's,
tax.
either
Up on
way,
the
it's
development
still a
tax, like it came
restriction.
from a-
Yeah.
it
It's
came from
still
the
a
project,
restriction,
didn't it?
It
but
still
it
goes to
may,
us.
I'll double check to
But
make
if it
sure.
came from that pot of money that's supposed to have
I'm
been
with
spent
you.
for that
Didn't come from
facility,
the development
Then it,
tax.
then I would
well,
think it should go back to that
then
maintenance of that facility.
it's still a restriction
That's where it needs to go
of the
back.
money. It might not be this account number,
Be
is what I'm
restricted
saying.
only for that facility.
Only for that facility though.
Right.
If it came from that pot, I just wanna make sure it goes back to that pot.
I want to make sure that if it, for sure, if it's development tax, it goes to this one. But if it's from the sale of the Guy James property, we'll restrict it
And put it
for that other purpose.
for that facility.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now with that information, the chair will
I make
entertain a
to
motion.
approve,
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner
contingent upon
Jordan.
everything I just said.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Who-
He and I.
Commissioner Sandlin.
Doolin second.
Those of us on the ag committee here.
It doesn't matter, they just want one together. Call the roll, please.
They need to.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Gentlemen, we need to deal with an agreement with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. We do need to
Yeah.
agree to this, and Mrs. Nolan, will you give us some of the details of what we're agreeing to?
This is the
We've already done this.
contract with the federal government on their share of the part-time position that does the gardens, where we were doing 10 from the county, 10 from the state, and 10 from the feds. However, the feds have said they're reducing theirs to 9.
So that's what we were agreeing to. We're accepting the 9,000.
We're accepting the 9. I think that
Okay.
the state still says that they'll still do their 10.
We got 20,000 here.
Yeah.
It's actually gonna be 19.
No.
No, the 20,000. No, that 20,000 is them saying that we are going to do our contribution. This 20 is our
Our
10
piece.
and state's piece.
I got you.
Okay.
State
Okay.
10, 10, and 9 is all we
10,
got.
10,
Yeah.
and it'll be for
All
like
right.
next fiscal year, 10, 10, and 9.
Okay.
So does that mean we're gonna do it for 29,000 instead of 30,000?
It'll,
That's all we got to spend on that position.
or kick in another
Or kick in.
1,000.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that motion carries. General capital project amendments. And you notice there were two parts, so go to Part A first. And this is the one item that Mrs. Nolan alluded to during her cash balances report.
Right, this is the 1,698, for sure, development tax money. For sure. And requesting it to go back, close the project, it's completed, and move it back to the restricted for capital projects.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Sandlin, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Under another sheet.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Yeah, it's under the other
And
one.
something else that Mrs. Nolan alluded to during her fund condition report is in Part B.
Yes, this is a report that I do monthly or every other month. That is the progress report on the general capital projects. Now, this amendment won't have to go to the full commission because this is all within the capital projects fund. So basically what I want to ultimately ask is just to move money out of one project, close it, and move it to another. But just to kind of, this kind of gives you where we are at the January 8th. The firing range, there's 9,465 left on it. The Rutherford County Fire Department, that's the big one. That's the new one. There is, under the column, budgeted dollars available. Second from the right. That there's 71,252, but y'all have already approved that any money left in that one can go to the next one, the Midland Fosterville. That just in my reporting, I do separate those two projects. That initially it looks like you've got that we're $91,000 short, but because we're able to use that money up above, we're about 20,000 short in the Midland. The communications project, this is the one that the whole total project is estimated at about $2 million. We've got the 911 board who's committed $1.5 million. million to the
Mhm.
project. That we have to spend money before we get money in. I think where they're waiting on that is, for the county attorney to do a lease. Is that right?
We have to do a couple of leases, but we're putting up a new tower up at a site, CUD site up near Milton. We're putting additional equipment on about all these towers, microwave
The
equipment.
microwave.
So the total thing is gonna be a couple of $1 million when we get through with all of this. So it takes a substantial amount of time to make all these pieces fit together. We're having to put some equipment on a tower that's on the Smyrna property, but Middle Tennessee Electric has the tower, and we have to get permission and leases and all that. So all that's just working its way through the system.
Okay. Then to the next page, the dispatch, the Rutherford County Sheriff's dispatch, it's completed. I guess I'm just presenting that to show you that it's done. This next one, the law enforcement addition to the kitchen improvement, that project is done. I've highlighted to show you that, you know, there's other money from the general fund, and up above you see total project manager that we transferred 50,000 in, and nearly 273,000 that we transferred in November. So all that to say, the project is done. There's development tax money in that. I am requesting that we move this available money from this project over to the other, to the Midland one. I know we won't need all the 37, because as I told you, you know, that we're short
But we may
by
need
about
because
20, but you've got equipment yet to do.
And we got some change orders that are potential that we haven't even processed yet.
So just to make this project, a
Make
little
it-
more whole,
Yeah.
that's why my request is to close that other project and move available funds over into the fire department projects.
And you need a motion for that,
Yes.
but it will not have to go through the county commission.
Right.
You need a motion tonight for that.
I'll make a motion, second.
Commissioner Jernigan, seconded by Commissioner P. Any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Nolan?
The total communication project then was the 507, done deal.
That's
That doesn't have all the cost in there yet.
Oh.
No, this one up
We
here.
transferred some.
Oh, you're talking about
The 507
the
one.
dispatch,
Yeah.
Yes.
Sheriff Office Communication, yes.
That's done.
That was the total cost of it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
There's a third page to that just kind of gives you an update. There's 3 more projects listed. That's the health department, and the flood mitigation. If you remember, there's some properties being purchased through some grants that flood,
Mhm.
and that's working its way through. And then our city-county road projects, that just seems to be ongoing. But the projects we have is Beasley,
John Ramos.
Joby Jackson. That's the one that's out there.
We will know that $4 million is a good number on the 27th of January. We're taking bids.
I have a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
507 for the communication, I believe it was 350 at one point in time, you know, and
But that $4 million on the park, Joby Jackson Parkway was way under $4 million. It was about half that some years ago when y'all first agreed to that arrangement.
This
So we've
finished the
we've already
project.
About doubled it in our estimate,
That
Lisa
was-
and I.
This finished the
7 or 8
project
years
at
ago.
John Braddock Highway. Is that where this last leg will go? As far as
This
finishing
last
it up?
leg goes all the way from 24 around to County Farm Road.
Oh, that's the other way.
yeah,
I'm
ties
thinking.
into Veterans Parkway right there or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Barfield.
yeah. I was talking about the other direction, so that's going the other way.
You gotta get this section through, all that through before you go any further.
Gentlemen, that is all we have on our agenda, but is there anything under other business?
Can we ask the superintendent of schools what his thoughts are on what we just heard a few minutes ago? Since he's here tonight, I
Mr.
mean,
Roden,
they-
would you join
it's
us,
gonna have-
please?
He's gonna be for it.
I
I would
just
say.
get his
Gone
thought.
home a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly support the SROs. You know, Rutherford County has been one of the leading districts and had the first SROs in the state, 1993, started with 5. When you see the numbers you looked at tonight and you look at Williamson County didn't have any SROs in middle schools and elementary schools. You look at Sumner County, what they're trying to catch up with. Our numbers to complete it with the number of schools that we have is kind of amazing when you see how far the others need to go. You've mentioned several things tonight about other devices. Of course, we have been spending for the last several years changing our entrances. You go to many of elementary schools now, you have to go through the office to get in the building. You have buzz-in, of course, in some others where we had more difficulty to do that. Very common now to find your classrooms locked, that sort of thing when you go down. We're actually doing a survey, most of it will be compiled tomorrow, looking at some other things that we can do. But you're going to find Rutherford County is much ahead of this game. The others are talking about having to budget much more to physically change their building, but that's been Mr. Clardy, Mr. Gill, and the others all along have really been doing this for some time. So we're very fortunate that we are in a better shape than many others.
Do we have any we still lack? I know we did like Royal Walter, one of the last ones I heard about, you know, change the configuration of the front entryway. Are we through with that, with all of them, or are there
Some
some
have had
still
to do
waiting?
some, even David Urie had to move a desk up front. They have a buzz-in at the front door and a person up there. It's just the design of some of the buildings.
But we've all got
Yeah.
some form of a
We've got something.
locking system that somebody just can't walk in the door.
Our problems are the portables and
Yeah,
the things
well,
where you
cool.
try to have to,
Yeah.
where they don't have restrooms and that sort of thing. You've got 140 something portables. So a lot of our issues are tied with that accommodating the number of students that enroll.
Do you have any information about whether the city is going to put SROs in their elementary schools?
I do not. I mean, I speak with them occasionally, but I think they're interested, but I'm not hearing what they're going to do.
Well, they're doing a great job, and I appreciate you and the principals' hard work and diligence on. I mean, there's a lot of matters we don't even hear, and the public doesn't hear, and that's great. We don't need to hear it.
The drills are
And
realistic.
They take us out of that situation, and they do a tremendous job on their drills and everything, and that's what, you know, our kids need that, and they feel safe and they can learn in a safe environment like that.
If you ask parents across the nation what's their number one concern with school, it's the safety of my children. Comes before education, comes before all the other things. And it's been that for years and years, the safety of my child at school.
Well, you can't have education if you can't
You're
trust
right.
your kids. I mean, if you go back and look at the shootings that were in D.C., I mean, you were afraid to let your kids go on the street to get on the bus. I mean, public safety's got to be there first before you can have education. I mean, look at Afghanistan and these places. You know, you can't educate your children unless they're safe. So.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. And I noticed that your eyes lit up a while ago when the finance director reported the sales tax collection.
And Jeff was back, got his pen out.
I saw that. I saw that.
I
Thank you.
guarantee you, he knows almost within 5 pennies how much is coming.
Thank you. And I would like to recognize the participants in Leadership Rutherford sitting here on our front row, and maybe a couple of people in the back. Welcome.
They'll learn in the future, get their card signed at the start of the meeting.
But they also,
This is a short
Yeah.
agenda, so you chose a good one with a short agenda. But welcome, glad to have you. Gentlemen, anything else that needs to come before our committee? Thank you very much. We are adjourned.